better, but there's a lot of disturbance.
Presence, okay, seems to be fine. There is nothing else which is consuming the internet.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, sir. Now it is fine.
okay, okay, fine. In our previous class, we were discussing upon the different types of the clients, right? So, in the different types of the clients, we had a mobile clients, which usually we can call it to be a phones, smartphones, or a PDAs, okay, and a thin client and a thick client. So we had got a clear idea or a difference between what a thin client and a thick client, right? A thin client is something where the thin clients usually they won't have any hard drives in that. So everything the work is done, it will be done on directly on the clouds itself. Whereas in the thick client we can call it to be a normal PCs or a laptops where the browsers are used in order to access the cloud, and data can be stored on the local system and then it can be then again uploaded onto the servers. Okay, now in the next couple of slides, we will just try to discuss on the benefits of the thin clients. I have put down all the benefits of the thin clients. For the point of your examination, this is also important. Pay attention because the concepts, this particular concept is super easy to understand and you can score very good marks here. Now, take a couple of minutes, read through these particular points and let us discuss on these points. Lower hardware cost, lower IT cost, device security, data security, less power consumption, ease of repair or replacement, and less noise. The first four points are very important, and the remaining three are a kind of a add-on to the benefits. Okay, now shall we discuss on these points now? Discuss in the sense I like to hear from your side. Okay, what you think about these particular points? That is first one, lower hardware cost. Can anyone try to put on some thoughts? Lower hardware
Sir,
cost.
because there is no hard drive or there is no uh, personalized system to store in data. The data is stored on the servers.
Yes, exactly. Low hardware cost. Why low hardware cost? Because thin clients do not have any hard drives in it. Since there is no hard drive, the hardware cost of that particular device would be definitely lesser than the thick client. So isn't it an advantage of or the benefit of the thin clients over the thick clients? Yes, it is an advantage or the benefit, right? So there is no absolutely hardware in that. So the device cost will definitely reduce here. So we can say the thin clients have lower hardware cost, right? And then next, second one, lower IT cost. So what actually mean by IT cost or IT here? You can think of kind of a maintenance or the management.
So we don't have to manage the data or the security or on the devices. It is managed by the who handles the servers.
Yeah, the service provider or the hosting company will take care of all its IT cost, right? Since we want to compute certain data, as the data is not getting stored internally, everything will be done stored on the server side itself, that is on the service provider side. So whatever the hard disk is required, it is belonging to the server side. So the management of that particular hard drive, okay, belongs to them only. So definitely on the internal side, suppose think of in our college we want to have an cloud infrastructure and we want to have a thin clients. Thin clients means suppose we will not provide any hard drive in that. Okay, but you will get an access to all the stuffs like executing the programs, right? So that will be done directly on the cloud side. Suppose if any problem happens, right, on the system, who will take care of that managing? It will not be done by the instructor of our college. Rather, it will be done by the employees of the hosting companies. So the as an organization, for me, I need not to pay much amount to the, or I need not to hire the resources who can handle the managing the IT stuffs. So it will be directly done by the company itself. So the again here lower IT cost will be there if we make use of a thin clients. Okay, then data security. So here purposefully I have not put the benefit where the data security is high or low. I want to hear from your side. That's why I did not mention what benefit it is. I just put the word data security. So what you can think data security, is it higher or is it lower?
So it is high because the data is protected by the
Okay,
one who provides the service.
yeah, I just apologize. It is not data security, it is a device security. I'm sorry. Data security will come in the next point. Device security. Device security. So again here device
So it is
security.
almost the same because the viruses can't attack us because we are not directly connected. The service providers are blocking or protecting us from the outside attacks.
Okay. So you're trying to explain with respect to data. Suppose since data is not stored and there will not be any attack on the viruses. There won't
Yes,
be attack
sir.
of a
Kind
virus.
of.
Okay. So can you try to, can someone try to think apart from the data here as a purely device? So basically device security means what? It is a device means it is an hardware, right? Now think, assume that if someone steals this particular device, the thin client device, if someone steals, then will that particular person get a chance, or will that particular person be able to use that particular device like a normal computer? Can he use it?
No, sir.
No,
No,
right?
sir.
No, he can't. The the stolen devices cannot be used because it will not be a functioning until and unless they get connected to the cloud. And in order to get connected to the cloud, they require certain credentials and all. If they don't have, it can't be used. And even if the person gets the credentials, it can't be used for any other purposes. It has to be used for whatever it is intended for, or whatever it is manufactured for. So device security is again high here because people will not steal these particular thin clients, right? And exactly what you said, the data security. Data security is also high here, right? Because there is nothing that it is getting stored in the system. If it is getting stored in the system, there could be a chances of a malware attack. That will not happen only. And if the data is getting stored, then there is a chance that the data can be stolen by somebody. They can just copy the data. Again, that chances is absolutely zero here, right? So data security is again at the high on the user side. On the just pay attention to the word what I'm saying here. Data security is absolutely high at the point of users. User can't steal any data, or he can't play with the data. Okay, then next point, less power consumption. Absolutely right. Since there are no hard disks and all, then definitely there will be a less power consumption for that. Ease of repair or replacement. So what you can think here, ease of repair and replacement. It means that it is very easy to repair the thin clients, or we can replace the thin clients compared with the thick clients. Replacement we can understand because the hardware cost is very less. It is very easy to replace the device. Suppose if the thin client device, the user found it to be a problem, if they find it at something a faulty is there, then what they can do, the service provider can easily just replace the device. When they replace the device, what they get a new one is exactly the same as what they had earlier, because it is just without any hard drives. It's just a kind of a device where there certain applications will be there. Using that application, they can directly access the cloud. The user will not see any differences if the device is getting replaced with some other device. So it's very easy to repair as well as for the replacement. And the less noise, we can make it out, right? Less noise, since there are no hard drives involved in that. The spinning of the hard drives, the heat produced that we covered in the previous point, so it is going to be less noisy compared to the uh, normal thick clients. This particular point, you can think like, okay, nowadays less noisy, even systems or the laptops or the computers doesn't make that much of a noise. But in the earlier days, if you just go back onto a 10 15 years back, you can make out that certain computers during that particular time stage, the sound produced by the computers was drastically more than what we get nowadays, because of the hardware used, or the manufacturing hardware what we had used earlier was were producing little more noise in that. Okay, so these are the different benefits. Among these benefits, you just need to remember the first four: the lower hardware cost, lower IT cost, data security, and device security, right? The same points I have just tried to put it over here. uh, you can just read through. If you missed the explanation part, you can just read through it. Okay, shall we proceed further? Okay. Data center, we have discussed about data center, nothing in detail we need to study. Just put up the certain images, right? These are the data center, how it look. What you can think of here, data center can be a big buildings like this, right? This entire building, this I think this is a building, data center building of Amazon, AWS, the Amazon's building, and this is a Microsoft's upcoming one of the data center building. And inside the data center, it looks like this. Okay. So the data centers are nothing but the collections of the servers where all those applications related to the cloud are hosted, buildings, right? So in the data center, the trend is virtual servers. I will discuss in detail about these virtual concepts in the upcoming slides. I will not focus here. Later, I will explain it in detail. Okay. The distributed servers we discussed in the previous class. Distributed servers allows the more options for the hosting company to provide the access to the multiple users, right? The next concept is something important. It is called as a grid computing. Okay. For point of examination, you can think that you may definitely get a question on grid computing, or probably a difference between grid computing and cloud computing, or a 2 marks grid computing, right? Now, let me put up a slide. Yeah, this particular image. Now, just look at the hardwares used here. Just have an idea. We will just discuss all these things. Okay, you have a one particular grid server, a server called as a grid server, okay, which is being accessed by certain computers. Okay, and then there is a kind of a dot. You can see a dotted border here, a rectangle border, and there is a network in that. And to that particular network, there are varieties of computers. The many computers are connected, and we are calling them to be a grid clients. Okay, so this is the kind of a topological view of a grid computing. Okay, let us understand what a grid computing is. Grid computing is nothing but, suppose if there is a big problem, a tremendous amount of a problem and that requires a tremendous amount of computing resources like a computer memory, computer data storage is required to solve that one, then it is not easy to solve on a particular computers. Okay, the problems like where the problems of a societies are there, and we can call it to be a public problems or a societal problems for which getting those particular hardwares requires a lot of money, and if people don't get a lot of money for that, then such problems cannot be solved. In such cases, a concept of a computing takes place wherein the big problems, we can call it to be a single problem here, and that single problem can be solved by multiple computers on a particular network. Okay, so a network will be established. How it works? A network will be established, right? In that particular network, there will be a server. We can call it to be a grid server. What that particular grid server will do is that it will identify the computers in its grid clients as a grid clients, what we can call. Then what it will do is that it will distribute the particular problem. That is, it will just divide all that particular problem into a small pieces. Okay, and then that particular sub problem will be distributed among all the computers in that particular grid network. Then those clients, whenever their resources are free, like a CPU is free, if it is not being used, then the computation will take place, and then that result will be sent back to the server. Okay, it is something like, for an example, this is the grid computing works on a people who wants to share their data or who wants to share their resources. To give an example, what actually we mean by sharing the computer resources means, now assume that I own a laptop here. Okay, and I say that, okay, hardly in a day, in a 24 hours of a time, I use approximately some 5 to 6 hours of a CPU. I use the computer for 5 to 6 hours. So remaining time I don't use my laptop, right? That means what? The computer is not being used, means the CPU is not being used, computation is not happening on my system. So this problem, or rather this thing, is taken will be taken as an advantage by the grid computing societies. What they will do is that on a public forum or a type of a website, they will just put up, are you volunteering for sharing your computer resources like a CPU and all? If I agree, then I need to specify them, okay, what time in a particular day I don't use my system. If I say that, okay, in the probably night time I want to spare, or I want to give some 5 to 6 hours of my particular CPU, and that can be used by them. If I do an agreement, then I just need to keep my system on. Okay, and then the grid computing or that particular institute or society or the organization, what they will do is that they will put me in their network, and they will send the piece of problems or the computation over whatever they wanted to get it done by my computer, and they will push those activities, and my computer will work on that, and they will get back the result on their side. So by doing this, what I'm doing is that I'm providing my computer or my computer resources to certain organizations so that they can work on solving the big problems where they don't get much devices, or they don't spend the money on buying those particular resources. This is kind of, you can think of collaborations. Okay, in such cases we make use of the grid computing. Okay, private organizations and public collaborations, both the places we can use, but most of the time it is widely used in the public collaborations itself. Private organizations, they think that, okay, there might be a problem, there might be a chance that the data might get stolen, so they don't usually, nowadays they have stopped using this grid computing for the private organizations, but in public sector it is still running. I will give you a couple of examples here. Okay, this is just whatever discussion I had, I just put it into a couple of statements here. Okay, now the examples, if you want to look upon, two examples are there. One is the SETI project, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Okay, earlier it was called as a HOME project. but now it is called as an CT Institute. You can just go through this website and look for the more information about what this does and all. So how it works is that in this particular project, the people, they will allow, or they will just give their particular computers, CPUs, whenever they are free, they will just give their particular computer resources to this particular institute, and they will take care of that CPU, idle time of a CPU, and then they do the work. Okay. Other is the most famous one, the World Community Grid. Okay, this particular World Community Grid works on the problems of a societies, solving cancer diseases, the cloud computing, not to be precise, the deep learning activities which are happening in the field of cancer related things. There are certain organizations on a public collaboration, they are working, and they are in need of certain computers or people who can share their resources. So through this particular World Community Grid, they are asking the society to voluntarily provide their computers so that they can perform certain huge or a tremendous amount of complex problems. Okay, you can also look into, just try to Google and find it out what a World Community Grid is. You will come to know about that. Okay, the advantages are straightforward or self-explanatory. Cost effectiveness. Suppose if there is a particular public sector and they want to solve a big amount of problems, instead of buying the computers, they can ask the public to share their particular resources, so that they no need to spend money on buying the hardwares. So cost effectiveness, and the problems which requires a tremendous amount of computing powers, the CPUs, can be solved very easily. And in order to do these two things, there should be a cooperation from the computer owners who can share their devices. So these are the three advantages of the grid computing. For the point of examination, if you get any question related to the 5 marks, I would request you to draw the diagram of this itself, because I have seen by the other lecturers in other colleges, they are given up with this type of network diagrammatic representation, and the other details you can write whatever I have given, you can just write according to that in order to get a full marks. Okay, and the advantages you need to mention. The examples, you just give the name of the example, the names of those two examples, it is enough. In detail, those particular couple of paragraphs are not required. Okay, did you understood, students, what I just spoke about grid computing? Did you get any hint of that, what it is and how it works?
Yes, sir.
So we need a little more examples if you can give, just to have even more clear idea.
Even okay. Mm, let me give a try here. Just a minute.
Sir, I want to ask, it is like the legal and more more efficient way, like the botnet, right, sir?
No, botnet example is like for the wrong purposes, right? Where user is not aware
Yes, sir, the
about
legal
that.
way and the more
Yeah.
Advanced way.
Yeah, let me try to put up. Students, are you able to see this camera, the which I have focused here? Are you able to see?
Yes, sir.
Is it a full screen for you, or just a thumbnail view?
Thumbnail view.
Okay, in that.
Sir, we can make it a full screen by clicking on it.
Yeah, now
So now
it is clear. I just stopped the sharing so that you can see it completely. Okay, now think that there is a big are you able to see the word which I'm writing? There is a big problem. Okay,
yes.
The problem is that it requires, say, 1 TB of RAM. It requires 1 TB of RAM. Hardly what we have a computers of a few GB RAMs, right? 4 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM or 32 GB RAM. right? Suppose if a problem requires this much of a RAM to be solved, then what is it possible to achieve on a single computers? Absolutely not. Then there is a concept of something called as an grid computing, wherein there will be a server which we call it to be a grid server. This particular server will be having a type of a software. What that software will do is that the problem which we have, that problem can be divided into a simple pieces. Like suppose if, let me take up 1 TB. In 1 TB, suppose 1 GBs of RAM, if it can get, then you will try to divide that 1 TB into 1 GB of sub problems, and each of these 1 GBs of sub problems will be separately solved by the different computers, right? So for that they require certain computers. Since they can't own the computers, what they will do is that on a public forums like the World Community Grid, they will voluntarily ask the people to share their resources. Share the resources means, suppose if I don't use my computer, in the night time, so I will say that, okay, I will provide my resources during so and so time span, say between 10 p.m. to 12 p.m. 2 hours I will share. Then what this server will do during that particular time, this piece of computation, it will send it to me, provided that I should be connected to that particular network. Okay, then the computation will happen over here and the result will be sent back. Like this, the entire this particular big problem will be divided and it will be pushed on to the different computers. These computers are what? They are the normal users computer, the public computers who are willing to share their resources. Then the result will be taken back, and then this particular server will try to put it together, the result, and then try to give a meaningful or the more proper solution for that. It is not as simple as this what I explained. There will be a whole lot of complex works will be taken care, because dividing that big problem into a small pieces and then reassembling it back, that is divide and conquer technique, has to happen there. So there will be a type of a algorithm written for that, splitting up the data and merging that result back. So this type of architecture, okay, wherein the big problem is divided into multiple problems and the computers will work simultaneously and provides the result back to the main server. So this type of computing, we call it to be a grid computing. So did you get a better impression on this, a better understanding on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Meanwhile, students, just enter the attendance. We have hardly 2 minutes remaining. Be quick, enter the attendance. So this particular difference, that is the difference between the grid computing and cloud computing, for a moment I will pause here. I will not explain this one because we need to understand few more concepts related to that of the cloud computing. Later I will take up this particular differences. Okay, once we learn those concepts, for you also it becomes very easy to understand the difference between these. Okay, this is additionally I'm putting you in the syllabus. In the syllabus they have not mentioned it, but they may ask a question. That's why I have added extra concept, differences between grid computing and cloud computing, which I will teach you later after I cover certain concepts related to the cloud computing. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.